This is a bear on a unicycle. How's everyone doing?
Everyone's doing great. This is Sid Part 2 in milanjeftic1992. And I hope I said that right. And if I didn't, I'm not going back because we only have a 15-minute call window here.
All right.
And I don't feel like editing. Um, we're going to be reviewing a film called Melancholia that came out in
Uh-huh.
2011. And I saw this back on Christmas Eve, which was just as I'm sure you'll agree, Milan, just a great time to watch a movie like this.
Oh
And
yes.
Milan just saw this earlier today. All right, so
Mm-hmm.
for those of you that don't know, I'm going to read the Wikipedia first little paragraph here. Melancholia is a 2011 sci-fi drama film written and directed by Lars Von Trier, starring Kirsten Dunst, Charlotte Gainsbourg, and Keith Sutherland. Motherfucking Jack Bauer.
Indeed.
That's not in the article. The narrative revolves around two sisters during and shortly after the wedding party of one of them, while Earth is about to collide with an approaching rogue planet. The film prominently features music from Richard Wagner's prelude to opera. That's unimportant. All right. Anyway, so first thoughts on the movie before we talk about anything else here.
Fucking depressing, but in a
Really
fun way. But in a fun way.
good to know. All right. My first thought on it is it's really good if, like me, you're dead inside.
Mm.
Um, so let's kind of go through this by like memorable scenes, and obviously the most memorable one to me is the very beginning of the movie,
Oh
where you see
yeah.
all these still images. They're not still; they're actually
They're in
moving
very, very
really,
slow
really slow
motion.
motion.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was interesting to me. I was
It's
really intrigued by that, and like they're actually seated throughout the movie as you watch it,
mm,
and characters are describing that's how they're feeling at certain
mm.
points. Uh,
And the thing about the very slow beginning, it's almost like a prelude to an opera. The music really fits in really well with the kind of somber mood.
oh, well, since you said that, actually, this, like I said, the music is Richard Wagner's Tristan und Isolde.
Wagner.
Oh, well, it says it doesn't have an accent mark on it. How am I supposed to know?
Just your
Hello?
hello.
Okay, yeah, you just stopped mid-sentence. Anyway,
I
um,
was toast. Anyway, I really like the one slow motion image where she's just staring at the camera, just all melancholy, and then just birds slowly start falling from the sky. Oh, lovely.
I like that one too. I like the one because it's the one that's stated most obviously is when she talks about she feels like she's trapped in what was it, steel wool that she said?
Yeah, still will. I think that was it.
Yeah, and she's like running and there's just all that like heavy like giant things of steel wool hanging off her. That was
Mm,
really cool looking. And then of course,
yeah.
the planet hitting the other planet. Oh, spoiler alert. By the way, it happens in the first 2 minutes of the movie.
The cinematography of this film kind of really reminds me of the Tree of Life movie. I think it won an Oscar, and these Oscars this year.
Mm,
Um, I think I don't know, just the directing, the direction of the movie, just they just seem very similar.
mm, cool.
Mm-mm, mm-mm. So yeah, we get to see Kristen Dunst's tater tots.
Yes, well, let's try to keep this intelligent before we get into that stuff.
All right then.
You were talking about how it's really depressing, but in a good way. Uh,
Mm-mm. Well, the
here's
thing
more.
is, the thing is, it's it's kind of taking melancholy and shade. It's like 100 shades of melancholy.
Mm, yeah, I'd agree with that. It's an interesting thought. Elaborate a little bit more if you would.
It's just it's different types of melancholy overlaid on one another, with the like brief moments of quote unquote seeming not really. It's the kind of happiness where you think you should be happy, but underneath you're kind of like well, like Mr. Sidbar here, dead inside.
Thank you. I really
Yes.
appreciate that, I think.
Mm.
Um, Well, let's describe the movie a little bit more. Go kind of like scene by scene, but not in huge detail.
Mm,
Um, so it starts out with Kirsten Dunst's wedding right after this awesome montage of really
just
cool,
very great scenery. I mean, very great shots. But the
yeah,
thing
yeah.
is, this is just gonna be I don't know, the way it's filmed. It seems very Europe, and it
You
basks
cut
in
out
the.
there. Say that again. It seems
Sorry.
very something.
It seems it's the cinematography and just the whole movie making style. It just seems very European to me,
Mm-hmm.
and it just
Lars
I
Von
don't.
Trier, I believe he's French.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's right. That's right. It seems very French to me,
Mm-hmm.
or French or German. Yeah, yeah. I can see the French influence. It's very great. It kind of basks in the silences.
Mm-hmm.
In that way, in that regard, it seems almost like real unreal. It's like unreal reality, if that makes any
Mm,
sense. It just it just it just it just has its own certain beat.
mm. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd agree with that because it's very strangely paced. Um,
Hmm. Almost like kind of the reverse of what Alfred Hitchcock said. Melodrama is basically life, but with all the boring parts taken out. I
yeah,
think
this had
this,
a lot of the boring parts, didn't it?
yeah, this is like this is not exactly the boring parts, but the parts you get like it's like half and half. You get a little bit of the boring parts, and then just the smidgen of the interesting stuff. But then it all comes together so well. Well, not really. It comes together very in an interesting way. It's like a, it's like a, it's like a foreign food you haven't tasted yet. Well, you've tasted it, and it seems it's not. You don't. It has an interesting flavor, if that makes any
Yeah,
sense.
yeah, I agree with that. See, I really love in just the photography or cinematography of it,
Oh,
the way that
yes.
the shots were very high. You notice that? It was very paradoxical to the mood of the movie
Mm,
because a lot of the
mm,
shots are from very high angles, I
mm.
noticed.
Yeah,
And
and
but the mood
yeah.
is always so low and so negative.
Yeah, and it's really kind of interesting because um it's just like in these types of dramas, the camera is kind of faced straight ahead, like in most 1930s movies. Like
Hmm.
in most 1930s, 1920s movies, the camera is not really seen from below or above. It's just you're staring at the action, like
Hmm.
straight ahead. So it's kind of interesting that it's like you said before, the camera is always a little bit above everyone, just kind of it's from like taking sort of a downward look on everyone.
Yeah, yeah. Well, like I said, I want to kind of summarize the plot because this movie is by no means well known.
Mm,
Um, so it starts out with Kirsten Dunst's wedding, or not wedding, wedding reception, and
mm-hmm,
her groom are going up to this beautiful hotel with like its own golf course and this limo that can't fit up this driveway.
mm-hmm,
And Kirsten Dunst is just laughing,
mm-hmm,
and she seems so happy, and they're late as hell to the reception because they had to walk. And is her sister, who is the other main character in this movie, Sophie? Is that the right
mm-hmm.
name? Yeah, yeah.
Yes, Sophia, Sophie, yeah, yeah.
Oh, Sophia. Okay. Her her sister says, "Are you sure you want this?" And she's like, "Yes, yes, of course." And before she goes in the reception, she goes and checks on her horse, even though they're like 2 hours late.
Mm,
And then during the reception, people are making their toasts and everything, and
mm-hmm,
her dad, who is played by Ian McKellen, he's makes a toast, and I'm pretty sure he's drunk. Um, then her mother gets up, and this is where you kind of get a hint at her character because her mother gets up and says something to the effect of, "I hope your marriage wasn't as isn't as worthless as mine," or something like that. Do you remember what her mom said at the reception party?
yeah, something basically that.
Yes, like her dad is sitting right there, and you get the feeling that these two are obviously divorced, but it's just
Oh,
very, very friggin' bitch mode,
I
and that
just love
sets
Ian.
Kirsten.
Oh, I just love Ian's face. Like it's like, it's.
Well, anyway, so like that
Yeah,
part's really a keeper. And then
yeah,
that sets Kirsten Dunst's character into what she really is throughout the rest of the movie.
dead inside.
Yes. So like after that, she goes and wanders around on the golf course. She's driving around on this golf cart. She gets out and she's in her wedding dress, by the way. She gets out of the golf
Yeah.
cart and just pisses on the green. She's squatting down. She's either pissing or shitting. I don't know which. Um, and then she drives around some more, and then she comes back, and her mother at the same time are actually both just lying in bathtubs crying, which is just so weird.
I really disagree. I think it's good. Well, I don't. I'm a sick motherfucker, and I sort of see that. It sort of seems kind of amusing to me. Like
Mm.
both the mother and the daughter are, well, like you said before, dead inside, and it's kind of amusing to me because I'm a monster.
Well, yes, I'm just saying that that's how they do it. Is that's how they deal with it? Is they go to the bathtub to just cry, and motherfucking Jack Bauer. And I'm not even gonna call him Keith Sutherland. He's motherfucking Jack Bauer.
Yes. You
He's
know he.
knocking on doors and trying to get them both out because he owns the damned hotel. And he is married to Sophia.
Mm. You know what what goddamn Mr. Jack Barrow needs to do, what needed to do in this film was just to punch out an Iraqi man. Just random like
Just
a
randomly, like
a j-
no fit into the movie at all. Just randomly,
yeah, yeah,
he's
yeah,
like sitting there with the kid taking the pictures of Melancholia, and then he just
yeah.
punches some Iraqi in the face. Yes.
No, no, just a vaguely Iraqi looking person comes along and just Jack just stands up and just punches him in the face, sits back down, and just renews his role. Just like like it's just that'd be so great. But anyway, you were saying, go ahead.
Anyway, so like Kirsten Dunst cries in the bathtub, and
Hmm.
the next notable thing is that she goes. Okay, one other thing. Her boss is at the wedding, and he's
Hmm.
hired some kid that's like 16 maybe to follow her around and get she's in advertising and get like a sell line or a pitch line or something for this new product, right?
Hmm.
And the kids had no luck all night. Well, so just keep that in mind because that comes up. The movie goes on a little bit. It's the wedding still, and she goes with her groom, her new groom, new bride, new groom, into a secluded room in this hotel, and they start making out, and clothes start coming off, and then she just says stop, 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 and then leaves the room, and then goes back out onto the golf course, and here's where the kid comes back in. He's still following her around, and she just takes him, throws him down on the green, and has sex with him right there.
That was a great scene.
Yes. Um. Blah blah blah. She quits her job because her boss is frankly an asshole, but also because she's manic depressive. And
Oh,
like that's the thing. She is very, very manic depressive. She quits her job
oh, and
and
by the way, I'm just gonna throw this in before I forget. This movie, basically, you know how sometimes people describe certain movies like, oh, this is pure happiness on screen. This it's like certain movies as being like representations of a mindset.
hmm
Well, movie is a pure representation of manic depressive people, which
yes,
is
it
rather
really is. Um,
yes.
we're almost out of time, so I'm gonna try to finish off the wedding part. All right.
Mm-hmm.
Um, because then we'll just have to go on to part two,
Go.
since this is in 15-minute blocks. People, I'm sorry. Anyway,
Indeed. Go.
so Kirsten Dunst as her father, it's like, it's a wedding with a bunch of adults, so they're all staying up way early morning hours. And she asks her father to stay, and she wakes up the next morning and he's gone. And she sees her husband walk out the front door and he says, well, we tried to make it work. And he leaves. So they're married for a day. Not even a day,
Mm-hmm.
a night is essentially it.
A few
And then
hours because since they were late for the reception.
yeah, and like they were really happy when they were late, weren't they? Like they were smiling and laughing and kissing and
Like
stuff.
I was said, like
You
Kirsten
got you
Dunst.
got 30 seconds, man.
Okay, basically, it's the perfect pr presentation of
Representation.
presentation of a character who is acting all happy and giddy and that knows that she should be happy and elated because it's wedding day, la di da di da. But inside, you can just like She's dead
You're running
inside.
out of time. You're running out of time. Oh my God!
Hey,
Stop.